Okay, we're gonna go over something that's incredibly valuable that people really tend to like, pay for and kind of go over. Is we're gonna take this drawing here and we're gonna make it more realistic. It's gonna be more detailed, and I'm gonna go over detail with you so that you can do it on your own drawings. Okay, so before that, don't forget hit the subscribe, say what's up, how's it going, anything. I will reply to every single comment. Okay, let's hop into this. So the drawing already is pretty good, but I would say there's many things that we can do to make it more detailed and, like I said, I would say more realistic, but not, I wouldn't even say more realistic, but more convincing to the viewer that's looking at us. So if I look at his eye really fast, what tends to be on eyes, for example, especially dragons, monsters, dinosaurs, anything like that, there tends to be a little bit more bag under the eye. Hopefully, is it unfocusing here? Hold on, let me see. A little bit bag under the eye. So if we go right over here, we're going to pull thin lines down there. See? It's a thin line, and it's going to be pulling downward. Let me turn another light on over here. It's a thin line over here now. Maybe another little thin line. Not too much, really small. You want to vary those lines up, just like these. You want to vary them up because if they're all the exact same, it's going to look like they're painted on. But to make them look more natural, especially for a dinosaur that is organic, it's a creature, it's an animal, it will look more natural. Over here, it might have a little bit of crow's feet. Like just if you look at nature, you look at people, maybe a little bit of crow's feet as well. Those look a little too similar, so maybe make one a little bit longer than the other one. There you go. Over here, alrighty. Maybe a thicker line right there because it is kind of more or less the ear of that area. Line over here. Putting a little, sorry if it defocuses, but we're throwing in little lines. And the reason we're doing that is we're doing it to kind of expose more information to the viewer. This is completely white, right? If you were to look at just that area, there's no information there. You want to give the viewer something to look at or something to understand. I was going to say better what they're looking at. Throw a couple little lines right here. And there's a little bit of folding going on in that area right there of that, maybe the back of the neck, just a little bit of that area. And these lines, if I was to redraw these lines, right, let's say we wipe them out, right? Let's say this is erasable. Would I put them in the exact same way? No, not at all. I would kind of, a lot of it is like based on feeling. There's a little bit of randomness to lines like this, these organic lines. Like I said, it's going to follow a similar flow, a similar formula, but that stuff based on kind of mood and a lot of things is going to change. Throw a few lines over here, maybe over here along the eye as well. We're going to pull a little bit of a line at the front over there. Let's give them a little bit more of a furrow. Trying to keep the lines thin. It's a little bit hard to use a marker like this because I'm like holding at the end so I don't block you, and I want you to be able to see. Around the nostril, there tends to be a little bit of folding. Right here. There we go. Over here now, there's going to be a little bit of furrowing right there. You're thinking of the exact surface, and then you're drawing. These little dotted lines right here are just to show maybe it's folding, but it's not folding quite so sharp. It's not a sharp edge coming up like this, for example, or underneath the jaw. So because it's not angled, I'll usually do like little dots, little scratches, and sorry about that, the unfocusing of the camera. I'll keep it down here, and then some. Another thing we can do over here is you can draw like let's say something that's not organic right here on the toilet seat. We can draw like a little bit of a line right there. It's showing that there's some sort of edge going around right there, right? That's indicating to the viewer. A lot of this is communication. When you're communicating more information to the viewer, maybe right here be a subtle shadow. Some of these are not corners. Some of these are subtle shadows. When you're communicating something to the viewer, they like that. And it's not a conscious thing. A line right there, because that surface there's a little bit of a corner right there, but the corner is not so cut out that it is a complete, cut out corner, right? It is a little bit like a beveled edge right there. Over here below, on this side, maybe throw a little bit of shadow right there as well. Thicker lines tend to kind of display a pseudo shadow. So, for example, maybe below his neck, you can draw, a slightly thicker line, and that's going to create a little bit of a pseudo shadow. Maybe under here as well. So it's really up to you what you pick, but you're picking out these little areas. What you shouldn't do, by the way, I want you to be very, very careful. The last thing I want to tell you, I want you to be really careful not to how do you say, not to overwhelm this with too much detail. You can do that, and I've seen people do it very well, but there is a slight chance if you do it way too much that it's going to crowd the image with a bunch of random details. That it's going to go overboard, and it's going to distract. You don't really want to distract. That's not what we're about. We're about, enhancing our drawings. Okay, you want to be not, I wouldn't say call it like a true artist, but you want to be a designer as much as you are an artist. And I know those things are, told separately, not separately, but I know a lot of those things, some people consider themselves only a designer or only, a specific kind of artist, but you want to design even with your line art. I want to thank you so much. You did great, by the way. If you have any questions, let me know. If you're really serious about learning how to draw, if you're really, truly, honestly serious about this, go check out the link in the description. I'm going to put basically some free lessons, and also I'm going to put the big paid lesson up by the end of the month. So thank you so much. I appreciate it. Ask me some questions, and I'll talk to you in the next video.